Good evening, I'm Kerry O'Brien. Tonight on Lateline, we cross to America on the eve of the first Clinton-Yeltsin summit. The Russian president is desperate for hard cash support. But should the West back a wounded and shaky Boris Yeltsin? Join us straight after the news.
Clive Hale for ABC National News. Good evening, thanks for joining us. Heading tonight's late edition, the UN has suspended its operation to evacuate people from the besieged Muslim enclave of Srebrenica. Several people died in the crush on yesterday's convoy, and there are accusations the evacuation is a form of ethnic cleansing. The suspension of the operation comes in the wake of a tougher stance by the UN against Serbian aggression. From next week, if Serbian aircraft continue to intrude into Bosnia, NATO warplanes are authorised to shoot them down. But it's a limited mandate and will not provide relief for the people desperate to leave Srebrenica.
6 people died, suffocated in the crush as thousands tried to board the buses. 30 to 40,000 people are trapped in that city. The body of one child was carried away.
He got in the truck and he suffocated. He was 6 years old.
The people were lightly clothed, many shoeless in the bitter cold. They were brought to a sports center in Tuzla. It is their hospital and temporary home. A doctor and nurses examined the 2 children of this young woman. One suffers severe frostbite, but the doctor said they would be well. This woman brought her 2 children and 3 orphans out. How would you describe Srebrenica? What is it like now?
Awful, terrible, impossible. Houses are destroyed, people are living in the streets.
There are those who disagree with this UN effort, who say that by bringing Bosnian Muslims out of Srebrenica, the United Nations is helping the Serbs ethnically cleanse that city. They believe Srebrenica must remain a symbol of Muslim defiance.
Back home, and Australia's largest and most conservative Anglican diocese has a new leader. Reverend Harry Goodhue was tonight elected as Sydney's Anglican Archbishop. He narrowly beat the other contender, Bishop Paul Barnett, winning by 64 votes in the House of Laity and 15 in the House of Clergy. Ordained in 1958, Reverend Goodhue has been the Bishop of Wollongong for the last 10 years. Concern over the federal government's expanding budget deficit has contributed to a slump in the value of the Australian dollar. The Japanese yen has also soared to a record high, leaving the dollar floundering in its wake.
The dollar is caught up in the growing trade confrontation between the United States and Japan, which today sent the yen to a record high against the American dollar. But adding to the pressure on our currency are renewed concerns about the government's budget deficit. Yesterday, the Reserve Bank Governor, Bernie Fraser, said the state of the economy did not justify immediate spending cuts, and he was willing to trust Canberra to get the budget back into balance in later years.
It's been there before, it's done it before, and one, I think, should give it the benefit of the doubt that it can do it again.
But financial markets here want more than just reassurances on the budget deficit. Selling pressure against the dollar, which began with Japanese investors pulling funds back home at the end of their financial year, has today turned into a general trend against the currency.
Federal police may be called in to help restore law and order in Somalia. Australian soldiers are investigating many of the worst crimes, but need legal backup from home to bring those responsible to justice.
Already, Australian investigators have pinned more than 30 murders on the mobster they know as Geni. His Somali name means evil.
The guy was absolutely ruthless. Just a butcher. He had no feelings. Life was meaningless to him. He's just got no compassion.
In a world where murderers were king, men like Geni flourished. They were the law. But the law is having problems catching up with them. Like many another suspect, Geni was hunted down. But while awaiting trial, he bribed his way from jail. Now he's on the run. Had Geni been convicted, he would have faced a firing squad. But now the meticulous detective work must start again. Given the enormity of the task ahead, it's hardly surprising there's been a call for specialist detectives from Australia.
Violence has marred elections in Jamaica, which have seen the return of Prime Minister Percy Patterson in a landslide victory. The army and police were called out in the capital, Kingston, after heavy gunfire erupted in one inner-city neighbourhood. 12 people, including an election official and a police officer, were killed in the lead-up to the poll. The opposition party said the elections were the most disgraceful in Jamaican history. Now, a brief check of tomorrow's national weather for you. A few showers expected for Sydney and for Hobart. Showers clearing from Melbourne. It should be mainly fine in Darwin and fine in Adelaide and the other capital cities. And that's ABC News for now. I'm Clive Hale. Thank you for watching the ABC National Late Edition. We're back for you again tomorrow. Do have a good night.